It's time for another Dice Tower review with Zee Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I am taking a look at Oceanos. Oceanos here is a card drafting game in which you are exploring the depths in your little submarine and trying to get the most points, and throughout the game trying to make improvements to your little sub to become better in specific areas, okay? This one is not a production copy, but it is final artwork, final rules, okay? So let's take a look at it, and then we'll come back and I will tell you what I think of it. Here we go. So here's what one player's tableau might look like, set up and ready to go. Each one would obviously have this in front of them. You have the sub here. This is the basic with all the pieces that could be improved around it. You also have this tile here, and that's basically it for one player. There's also somewhere the decks of cards. You'll be playing through 3 stages in the game, and then these little Kraken tokens, and there is also a bag here of loot, and a few other things. So that's basically it, all right? So let me show you first how the drafting works, and then I will tell you scoring and how to improve your submarine. So drafting goes like this. Let's say it is this player's turn, and we have 2 other players. That player is going to give each of the other players as many cards as they're supposed to receive at the beginning of the game. That is 2 cards. Each of those players is going to look at their cards, and they are going to keep the one they want. And they'll start their tableau with that card, all right? So they are going to, let's say this player places it like so, and this player is going to place of these cards, one of them over here somewhere. That's going to be where they're playing. And then this player, who was the one who dealt out cards, would receive the ones that were not played. They get to see what the other players have deployed, and then they get to pick from these and play to their own tableau. The rest is discarded. And then the start player moves around, and now this player would give 2 cards here, 2 cards here. They would look, they would pick, and then again, they would pass the cards that they did not pick to that player, who would choose what they want to keep, and so on. You play a certain number of rounds. In 5 players, you play 5 rounds, okay? And after that, we're going to do some scoring, and then you play the second stage. During the second stage, you are going to play cards from the second stage deck of cards here, and they go directly below the other ones. And so again, you're going to be building across directly below the ones at the surface level, okay? So, how do all these cards score? Let's get to that. At the end of the first stage, these are the cards I've gathered up, and now I am going to score. And I'll tell you also other things that would not score now, but they'll matter at the end of the game. So right now what we score is 2 things. We score the animals that you have found, and each different one is going to be 2 victory points up to the limit that you can store in your sub, which starts at 3. And so 1, 2, 3, that's great. They're all different, great. That is 6 points. 2 victory points each, okay? And then also you would score the tail of the submarine, which starts at 0, but it could be upgraded to 2 victory points, or eventually up to 5 victory points, as seen here, okay? So that's what you score at the end of the round. But however, you don't just go straight to scoring like that. You actually take one of these tiles that you started the game with, and you put it at the end, and it tells you right there what it is you got to do. The first thing being one of these pods, and those pods are the ones that allow you to increase your the abilities of your submarine, okay? So the pod checks for those gems in the bottom corners if they are unused. So here I have 1 gem, no pods after that, which is what cashes in the gems, and so I get to improve 1 thing with that gem. And so let's say I could improve, as I said before, the tail. So I'll take this one, I'll kick it up to the next level. There we go. After that, we score the animals 2, 4, 6 points, and I would write that down on the score sheet. And the tail is 2 more, so 8 points. And now the Kraken eyes. Now the Kraken eyes, as you can see up here, are bad. And they are on particularly powerful cards, is typically how that works. And so whoever has the most Kraken eyes at the table would take a token from these three for the first round. You flip it, and everybody who has the most Kraken eyes, if there's a tie, loses that many victory points. And so, oh, all right, I got lucky, but it could have been -2 or -1, and it goes up from round to round. So the second round, it'll be a little, possibly a little more, and then the last round, more even. So that's how that works, and that's what ends your scoring for that round. But there's a few other symbols as you can see on these cards, okay? So here's what they are. The Kraken eyes I've already explained to you. The treasure chests here, at some point when you play a card with a treasure chest, you may deploy one of your divers. And again, you may have more if you increase that part of the sub, which is done, as I explained, through the use of the pods here and the crystals. So you deploy this as soon as you play one of those cards, and then at the end of the game, that diver is going to surface along that column, and for every one of these treasure cards that they come upon, you are going to grab a token from the bag, and you are going to get some bonus points. And these come in 2s, 3s, and 4s, okay? And so there you go. That's a 2, a 3, and a 4 right there. If you deploy them on the very first level, you are guaranteed 1, but you could wait and hope that by the time you have to draft the card directly below that, that you have a treasure. And so that would be excellent. You could do, let's see if I can come across one here. If when you play that, you deploy your diver there, excellent. You're going to get 2 treasures as he surfaces, and you can even wait for the 3rd depth. But again, you are taking a risk every time you do that. So that's how those work. And then also the coral, as you can see here, at the end of the game, you are going to get victory points for the biggest mass of coral that's adjacent that you have. So right now, I would get 4 victory points if this was the end of the game and there was no other coral around this, okay? If I'm able to deploy this card here later on, well then that'll be 5. But you have to build from the front, working your way back as always. And so that's basically it. And then at the end of the scoring phase, you are going to get back your fuel. What does fuel do? Well, to explain that, let me get into the submarine and tell you what each part does a little more in detail. I've already explained the tail of the submarine, which is straight up points at the end of the 3 rounds. So you can kick it up to 2 victory points at the end of the rounds, or if you can upgrade it to the very 3rd stage, very last stage, then it's 5 victory points. You have the fuel here, which allows you to keep an extra card. So if I would draft 2 cards, let's say, I look at 2, I really want to keep both, well then I can use my fuel on one of them and keep both in my display. And at the very end of the stage, so once I'm done with that first stage, I'll get all my fuel back. You can kick that up so that your sub can hold 2 fuel or even 3 fuel. All right. The next piece is the center here, the part where you put the animals you catch, and so you can score up to 3 different ones, which is a maximum of 6 victory points. But you can kick that up to 5 for a maximum of 10 victory points, or even all the way up to 8 for a maximum of 16 victory points from the animals. You have to, of course, have that many different ones. The top here, the pilot, that's how many cards you are going to get. You always get 1 and +1 for the stage at which this has been leveled up. So 2 normally, but then if you kick it up 1 level, you would get to look at an extra card. And then if you kick it up again, you are going to get to look at yet another card. And again, if you have fuel, then you can keep more of these. So all these things kind of work in tandem. And then the front is where the divers go. And the divers allow you to deploy them. And then as they surface, they grab that loot for you on the tiles. You can have more than 1 diver, 2 or 3 if you fully upgrade, and so you can deploy more of these divers, okay? So that's basically it. That's how the sub works, and that's pretty much how the game works. You continue, you play all 3 stages, 1s, 2s, 3s. Once the game is over, you tally up the points from the 3 rounds, but also you are going to use this card on the other side to remind you, also check for coral, also check for treasure from the divers surfacing. and whoever has the most victory points then is the winner of the game. So I'll just come right out and say it first. This game for me is fantastic. It does everything I want in a game pretty much. It's got a good look to it. It's a very attractive game. The drafting in it is quick and clever, and I enjoy drafting a lot anyway, and this one is sort of a twist on drafting, and it works well for me. I like the tactical choices, what to keep, what to score. Do you focus on coral? Do you focus on animals? Do you upgrade your ship in specific ways? What do you upgrade first? It's a lot of little choices you get to make, and while none of them are going to weigh you down, it does give you a lot of sort of area in which to play. You know, it's like a little playground. How do you want to do what you want to do? And I like that a lot. The game is very quick, plays in 30 minutes or so. And I just really have enjoyed it. Every time I play this game, I find it to be just incredibly engaging and moves along so quickly. It's so pleasant to play. It is as of right now, this is one of my favorite games this year, and I just adore it. I cannot wait to continue playing it, to keep exploring what the game has to offer, and I'm just very, very thrilled about it. So, there you have it. That is Oceanos. Definitely look into this one, folks. I think if you enjoy family weight games and you're not expecting a game that is too thinky, too heavy, then you are going to have a blast with this one. Look into it.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.